What are the challenges of advising private family-owned companies? Joining me is David Iannini, CEO of William & Henry Associates. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome, Richard. Pleasure to be here.
Can you discuss some of the challenges of advising family-owned companies?
Sure. Well, for a family-owned business, if you think about it, when they're contemplating a transaction of this type, it is typically the biggest financial asset the family owns. And it's also, in many respects, the biggest emotional asset the family owns. It's part of the fabric of their family. It's almost like a family member of the family. And some of the challenges that exist are the kind of challenges that exist in any family. Some of these families get along, some of them don't. Frankly, most of them don't. So I always say to a lot of people, I think my finance skills are very important, but also you have to have very good interpersonal and sort of mediation skills to get these family deals done. And the other challenge that exists is that many of these businesses are very entrepreneurial. They're not professionally run. So they're not very sophisticated in the way sometimes they approach business. So we have to spend a lot of time with them, sort of professionalizing the business to package it, if you will, to achieve the transaction goals.
I've heard a lot of family-owned companies tend to prefer one-on-one negotiations to really get to know the other person who's trying to acquire them.
I guess I wouldn't say that we don't really do auctions. Family-owned businesses are, as you know, Richard, it's a very personal decision for them. Even if they're not going to stay with the business, this business, as I said, has been part of the family. So they want to make sure it's getting into the right hands. Of course, they're concerned about price and all the other things, but they really do want to sell it to people that they like and trust.
Have you seen an increase in transactions among family-owned companies? Are more interested now in looking at selling the business because they think they can get a premium for it? Or is that a non-issue?
I would say that most family businesses are not viewing, or most private business owners, I would say, are not viewing this as a tremendously great time to sell. There's a lot of uncertainty in the economy. They're very concerned about what to do with their after-tax proceeds from a sale. Bond yields are incredibly low. In some respects, they're afraid of putting a large amount of money into the stock market. So we're seeing people do the math in their head. Gee, how much money do we make out of the business on a yearly basis? And comparing that to how much money can they make from this large amount of cash they're going to receive from a transaction? And do they equate, and which one's bigger or smaller? And you're seeing most people make the decision that, gee, we make more money operating the business than we can ever make from selling it, at least in the current environment. But as all things, that will change at some point, and we'll get back to more active deal making like we had in 2005 and 2006.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, appreciate it, Richard. Thank you for having me.
And that was David Iannini, CEO of William & Henry Associates.